Thank you for joining us. I'm joined this morning by the CADA Chairman, Mr. Anthony Santucci, and Road Safety Council, Mr. David Miners. The Christmas and New Year season is typically very busy. There's an increase in pedestrian and vehicular traffic, and people are very active, shopping, visiting friends and relatives all over the island, and generally enjoying themselves during the holiday season. This is a time of year when typically there's more money in circulation and there's lots of gifts being purchased in the stores. This should be a joyous time of the year, and the Bermuda Police Service, together with CADA and the Road Safety Council, want to help keep it that way. I want to remind members of the public that this is also a time of year when many criminals take the opportunity to steal and to rob and to burgle. Please help us to help you by keeping your homes, businesses and valuables secure. Look out for each other. Promptly report to the police any suspicious activity that you see. If you need help with crime prevention tips, I refer you to our website, www.bermudapolice.bm, and also to our crime prevention unit, which is available for specialist advice as needed. Our partners from CADA and the Road Safety Council will speak more specifically about making our roads safer during the holidays. But I want to take this opportunity to ensure everybody that the men and women from the Bermuda Police Service, as well as the Bermuda Reserve Police, will be out on the streets in numbers throughout the Christmas break, throughout New Year, and throughout the New Year holiday, and into the New Year, to help try to make Bermuda a safer place. Our officers will have a strong presence to deter offenders, and we will be able to respond very quickly to any emergencies as they arrive. And we've also deployed additional crime prevention patrols throughout the island. But please do your part to help us by letting us know if you see any offences being committed, or if you wish to alert us to any other suspicious activity. I now invite Mr. Anthony Santucci to say some words.
Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner Wright.
Can you just take the mic over, please?
Are you ready, Arnold?
Yeah.
Okay, should I start again?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner Wright and David. It's always a pleasure to be here with both of you. At CADA, encouraging responsible alcohol behavior, our message is simple. Always use the bus, cab, or designated driver. We encourage everyone who's going out this festive season to please, before you go out, have a plan on how you're going to be able to get home. If you're going to go out and have a good time, what we're saying is make a plan on how you're going to get home, so that if you end up in a situation where you have been consuming too much alcohol, you have a plan to get home safely. Alternatives to drinking and driving are public transportation, which holds some routes up until midnight. Another option is obviously having a cab. If you have a number of a cab driver that you know, keep it in your wallet, keep it on your speed dial, in your BlackBerry or mobile phone, and use it to get yourself home. Certainly, we also encourage the designated driver program. That simply means that someone's going to be the individual that's going to be responsible for getting you home safely. Clearly, this is going to be a friend or a relative, and sometimes you may end up being the designated driver, but that's perfectly reasonable as well. I would like to remind everyone that the Let Us Drive program, which happens every Saturday morning from 3:15 to 3:45 outside the LOM building, will be available for Christmas Eve and again on New Year's Eve. As a point to note, as we do every year on New Year's Eve, we double the capacity of lift that we have with the number of vouchers that are available to get people home safely. I would like to remind everybody that it is a festive season. Enjoy yourselves, and please have a safe, happy, and prosperous New Year. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Don't drink and drive. Slow down, fasten your helmets correctly, don't drive while talking on your cell phone. Now, today I'm not going to make any of these statements, as I believe all of us here say them all the time. I would like to take this time today to share some information with the general motoring public. On behalf of our chairman, Dr. Christopher Johnson, the Bermuda Road Safety Council would like to share the following information. To date, 12 lives have been lost on our roads this year. All 12 are local residents of Bermuda. All but one are male. 8 of the 12 fatal collisions involved a motorcycle. And in addition, in 2010, there had been 17 persons in the ICU listed in critical or serious condition. One recently, as you already know, had been thrown off for medical treatment. Now, I share these facts with you to highlight a simple and plain truth. How we drive on our roads has a major impact on everyone, not just the families and friends of those who were lost. Recently, I spoke with the chairman of a leading UK safety organization, namely ROSCO, or the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents, about the level of road traffic collisions in Bermuda. After reviewing our collision statistics per capita of previous years, he concluded that Bermuda's fatal collision rate is 6 times worse than that of the UK. To me, this is a sobering fact that we as a community must address. And the first question I ask is, how do we do? Well, first, enforcement of the law is paramount, and the Bermuda Police Service are working daily doing their part. We appreciate their efforts, as we are all aware of the demands that the recent gun and violent crime has had on their time and resources. And I'd like to thank you, Officer Wright, for your diligence this Christmas and holiday season. I think it's going to be paramount for what we need to do. Individual driving habits, of course, can also curb this trend in our road traffic statistics. When we teach our children correct behavior and send them off to school, do we stand in the shadows of the classroom to witness if they behave 24/7? Most of us do not. However, why would we expect the Bermuda Police Service to be everywhere at all times? The Bermuda Police Service does not need to be in our car for you to come to a complete stop at a stop sign. The BPS does not need to be in your car to ensure that you wear your seatbelt correctly. They do not need to be on the back of your motorcycle to make sure that you don't speed or ride after drinking at the bar. We all have the power to control these things individually. So for this Christmas and holiday season, all of us at the Bermuda Road Safety Council, all we like to do is to ask for you to remember that all you need to do to change the chaos on our roads is simply control you. So this holiday season, wear your seatbelts correctly. Don't drink and drive. Pay attention to the road. Understand that there are going to be pedestrians on our roads because of the holiday season. So be mindful. Open your eyes and have a blessed Christmas. Thank you.
Any questions?
I talked to a number
To whom are
of...
you speaking, sir?
Sorry?
To whom are you addressing?
Well, I'm not sure.
Just for the mic.
It's a general question. I talked to about 12 owners of bars and things in the last couple of days. Number one problem is getting a taxi at night time, and they said it's an annual problem. It's not a particularly easy problem to solve, but could you address it from the point of view of what you do to make a taxi driver turn out and earn his living?
Is that my question? Clearly must be.
Microphone, please.
Well, I can say through personal experience that you may or may not be aware of, I was out at the bewitching of, you want to call that, at 3:15, 3:45, not this weekend, but 2 weekends ago, doing what we generally do is spot check, let us drive to see how the interaction goes. I know on that specific Saturday morning there were lots of cabs around. I certainly know that there is historically an issue with cabs, and certainly the Minister of Transport is aware of that. As you know, they've been working diligently to try to alleviate that challenge. But I can say personally that when I was out 2 weeks ago at 3:30 in the morning, there were lots of cabs. So but that doesn't mean that's always the case, because I'm not always there. Clearly there's an issue. In either case, we say please be mindful and responsible. If there isn't a cab, wait for a cab. But at the very least, don't drink and drive. It really isn't worth it trying to drive home drunk, quite frankly.
Secondly, why did you choose the LOM spot for your taxis? They weren't happy with it for some reason.
No, I wouldn't say we were unhappy with it. We chose the LOM spot because there was a great demand for the designated driver program, quite frankly, and what tended to be some of the issues is that some of the cab drivers would encourage their patrons to wait. If their patrons showed up at 3 o'clock, they would tell them to wait to 3:15 before they actually got to utilize the cab. So we created a distinctive spot area specifically for that, so there wouldn't be a conflict between paper fares and let us drive.
Arnold?
Yeah, two questions for CADA. Firstly,
Is there a CADA on?
yes, CADA. I always go to CADA.
That's it.
Question, is the designated driver free soft drink plan still in effect?
It is an initiative that we have sponsored, but so I really can't speak to that fact.
Okay, secondly, this is the time of corporate parties. A lot of companies have their Christmas celebrations this time of year. Has CADA been approached by a corporate entity to assist in the delivery of the employees?
Yes, it's a short answer. Yes, it's a short answer. Certainly, we at CADA don't necessarily arrange lift for corporations to get their staff members service safety, but certainly refer them to the Bermuda Taxi Owners Association, and they do it. And now more so than 3 years ago, and so it's everybody understands that they have a responsibility to get the staff members safety. So now more so than ever, most corporations that have major events provide opportunities to get their staff members service safety.
Question, I think, primarily for Mr. Wright. There have been calls this year, several calls, for roadside sobriety tests to be set up, random ones, as in the UK. Is that something that the police services is looking at in the future?
Yeah, we've stepped up our enforcement activities around drink driving. In fact, arrests this year for driving whilst impaired are up more than 20% over last year. Nevertheless, we recognise that there may be opportunities to further enhance that, and the issue of roadside screening is certainly one of the things that we would look at. I wouldn't describe it as random breath testing, but the ability to do screening at the roadside is something that we would be interested in examining.
Can you do that under your current powers, or would that require a change in the law?
No, once there's a suspicion that a person's ability to drive is impaired, then the next course of action is to arrest them on suspicion and take them to a police station. So the need for roadside breath testing in the current law is redundant.
Two questions for Mr. Wright, Chief Inspector Wright.
Assistant Commissioner of Police.
Oh,
You've taken him down about 3 ranks.
I'm sorry.
As long as it doesn't affect my pay.
Over the last 5 years, Christmas has seen the escalation of gun violence. How do you intend to address that issue this year?
Yeah, we have a very robust response, as you know, to the ongoing challenges around gang violence and the use of guns. We have 24/7 armed response units, and we also have a very robust presence in targeted areas, in hotspot areas. I think the success of those programs is already borne out in the statistics around the number of people that we're arresting, and more latterly with the number of successful prosecutions, particularly at Supreme Court, and other press conferences have addressed the issue of guns and gang violence specifically. The main reason for us being here today is because I think the message needs to get out to the Bermuda community that we can enjoy this, what is supposed to be a happy time of year, with some responsible behaviour. But we can't expect everybody to behave responsible all the time, so let's encourage everybody to look out for your friends and look out for your neighbours, and think about stepping in and helping them, taking the car keys, getting them home, making sure that they live to party another day. But make responsible choices, please.
Okay, speaking to the drink driving situation, we see now we have cameras in the taser guns. Will we have cameras in police cars?
We are actually trialling cameras in police cars. It's another tool. It's another enforcement tool, another post-analysis tool, post-incident analysis. So it's certainly something that we're keeping an open mind on.
Mr. Santucci, the general attitude to drink driving in Bermuda, do you think that's one of the toughest tasks that you face, that kind of ambivalence towards it?
I would actually call it a cultural attitude as opposed to the general attitude. Certainly we understand that CADA, and I think, and also for the agencies that are tasked in changing that culture of drinking in general, and then obviously drinking and driving specifically is a really difficult task, but it doesn't mean it isn't a task we haven't obviously taken on, because we understand the importance of that task and changing that culture. So certainly the culture that has evolved over the last centuries isn't going to change quickly, but I'm glad to say I believe it is changing. Our Let Us Drive program has been amazingly successful, quite frankly, and I should probably say to our sponsors, McCarty, Gosling's, Boris, like Fairmont Hotels, and the Corporation Hamilton, because certainly this is an inexpensive program, but it's a program that these companies are willing to support because they understand that changing that culture is important. So, has it changed? No. Is it changing? Yes.
And just following on from that, how much responsibility do you feel that the people who run the bars in Bermuda should bear?
I believe, personally and otherwise, that it is all about collective responsibility. Any time we've had success in this community and any communities around the world is because we all are our brother's keeper, and everybody has a role to play. The individuals, the barkeeps, the cab drivers, the police, we all look out for each other. And as we talk about the designated driver program, then clearly we're going to have much more success that way.
Last question, anyone? Sir? I'm sorry, Mr. Bertram?
Yes, don't forget us. To Mr. Minus, you've noted the 12 deaths, you've given other statistics. To what degree, rather, and how many of those 12 deaths was alcohol a factor, given that the bodies are autopsied and that blood alcohol levels have been known?
At this point in time, I do not have that information, Mr. Bertram. Once that information is released to the Road Safety Council, then we can make comment. Those statistics are gathered by the Bermuda Police Service, so I do not have that specific information. I don't believe that. I can't speak for Mr. Wright.
No, I cannot give you the specific numbers, but I can tell you that the vast majority involve alcohol and or drugs.
I think that's the answer I was seeking, because if that's a factor, then it certainly should be pointed out that alcohol is a big factor in the pollution rate.
Yes.
And perhaps this information should be released rather than held.
Well, so, if I can say off the record, a lot of those cases are in varying levels and states, particularly in terms of coroner's inquests and the like. So we do not preempt processes that are already in motion. So a lot of times, whilst we can, out of respect for the process, is certain things, certain numbers that we don't want to say until it actually goes through its full process.
Okay, I'll take that point. I'll make your point as well.
And it's fair to say that from a historical perspective, 70% of all road fatalities or accidents on the road involve alcohol or drugs. So if we look at all our data, and I can't imagine that this year it's going to be any different.
So you're saying 70%
Well,
from your overall scale?
Can I just want to say something again, I don't want to preempt anything. I want to be very careful in using statistics and numbers and data. And the reason why I'm just saying that is because anecdotally there's a number of numbers that have always been floated around there. The challenge is when somebody says prove it or go to it, we always find ourselves in a challenge. So I just want us to be very careful putting numbers into the public domain unless, because Mrs. Santucci says a number, someone's going to come to us and say, where did he get that number from? And invariably it comes back on us to say, prove that number. So I would hasten to say, let's be very careful with statistics at this point in time, with the greatest of respect.
Back to the car.
I stick by the 70% process.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's this year, but historically the number has been roughly
Historic,
70%.
right?